Hello and welcome to my latest weekly video news from Madison's. Well, I've been talking a lot lately about what the war in Iran is doing to the property market. And look out for the latest copy of the business. I'll take a look back at major historical events and the impact that they've had on the market. But generally at the moment, it's actually okay, and especially down here in Tunbridge Wells. So there's definite change in the mortgage market, but what we're seeing is it's not like 2022 and 2023. Instead, buyers are adapting, not panicking. And of course, it changes on a daily basis, but I think it's felt at this point there's a very specific event that is going on. And so the adaptations are in response to that and not to a kind of wider issue within the economy. Of course, inflation started to rage in 2022, 2023, and that was a long-term issue to resolve. So yes, it's generally seen as okay. House prices across the country have actually been positive, 0.8%, but down here in the southeast, we are a lot more susceptible to short-term changes. So we've actually seen a drop in the southeast of 0.9%. So in this market, the sellers that will win are not those really over optimistic, greedy sellers, sadly. You've got to have a really well presented property. You've got to have a realistic and accurate price. And you've got to obviously have a great agent giving you good advice on what to do. And do listen to your agent. I know that we all feel that we're experts because of the portals, but there's a lot that you see that you don't see going on behind the scenes. For example, my property on Bing Road that I talked about recently. That you might think that's sitting there and hasn't done very well because it's still showing for sale. I'm at sealed bids on that. It's had enormous interest. We'll go for above asking, and we're at a sealed bids process. So there is a lot going on behind the scenes. Equally, there might be properties of mine that are languishing, that aren't getting the right response. And there's a conversation there about what to do to try and help those sellers because we're all on this journey together. But yes, as I've said always, showing that the Tunbridge Wells market is a very, very needs-driven market. And I'm going to shine a bit of a spotlight then at the moment on TN4. Now, TN4 is one of the engine rooms of the Tunbridge Wells market. It sits around that kind of St John's, goes up through Southborough, Bidborough, and then in Bidborough it starts to push into TN3 in places, but that kind of swathe of the northern side of the town. And it's where, as I say, the engine room, because you have the highest transaction levels. So there is more property that turns over in those areas. That is in part due to a higher density of what we call chimney pots. So there are simply more properties to sell. But also that's an absolute classic market where people move there and then move on based on need. So of course the largest reason why people move to TN4 is that excellent density of really, really strong schooling. So Tunbridge Wells is pretty strong on the primary sector in most areas, to be honest. You've obviously got Claremont School, St James's, St John's, Southborough. They're primary schools dotted around the town that all do very, very well. And of course, we've got some great private options as well in the Mead, Rose Hill, Homewood House, Beechwood. So other private options there as well. So the primary element tends to be more scattered around across Tunbridge Wells if you've got very young children. But if your children start to get to secondary school level, then your attention will most definitely start to shift to St John's, the Culverden Down district, and the top end of the town. You still can get into those schools if you live on the south of the town. It's just your children might have a bit more of a walk. And if you're looking at a catchment grammar, like Twigs or Tunbridge Wells Boys Grammar, then you want to live closer to that area to ensure that you get in. So what should you do if you've got a great family property and you're thinking now with spring market, it's booming, what are the things that I should really be factoring on? Well, it's really important to always think about what are the target needs of your buyer. So for the family buyer, they really prioritise that open plan kitchen diner. That is a big, big thing to them. They really want that convivial open plan space, and then maybe a separate reception space as well, a separate home office. But that open plan kitchen diner is really high on their list. So your internet listing should absolutely highlight if you've got an open plan kitchen diner, both in the photography and the words. Off-road parking is also great, but you don't get that much of that in the St John's district. There is an awful lot of on-street permit parking, which is fine. I think at that price point, Buyers accept that and they're absolutely not a problem. But if you do have a driveway or a garage or some form of off-road parking allocated, you need to really highlight that on your internet listing, because that will be a rare bonus treat in those areas. Storage is really important. A lot of people talk about converting their garages and making more accommodation space, but to the family buyer, they do really like storage. They want to put bikes and cricket bags and all that other paraphernalia of family life. So storage is very, very important as well. Outdoor space, that's a real biggie. So to have that kind of level flat garden off the kitchen is absolutely dreamland. But if you haven't got that, just make the most of what you have got and make sure it does work for your family buyer market. Um, and also often as well, more than one bathroom when you're the family buyer. So to have a master suite with an ensuite is great, but if you haven't got that, to have 2 bathrooms. So those are the things when you're putting your properties to market and you're in that sort of TN4 family heartland. You should really factor. TN4 as well, St John's district, is also very, very vibrant and buzzy. It's got a really great independent cafe culture, restaurants, shops, pubs, often attracts the London buyer. So I think really highlight the benefits of that location to your buyer as well, and also how easy it is to walk into the main town centre if that's where you want to get to. Some great St John's properties that I've got on the market for you at the moment. So what about this one on Riddlesdale Avenue? It's on at a guide of 885. What I love about this one for the family buyer, really good open plan accommodation, off-road parking, and a really nice level flat secluded garden that leads off from the kitchen. And it does have more than one bathroom. This great property on Wilman Road, 1.295 million. It's been extended by the current owner, so the bedroom space is really, really strong, but it's got a phenomenal garden, absolutely huge plot, lots of off-road parking, and 2 outside home office spaces or gym, etc. So if you've got slightly older children, great for a teenage den. This one on Queen's Road, it's got fabulous storage, this property. You don't often get that in these properties, but Queen's Road, lovely address. It's really spacious inside. It's got a nice flow of an open plan kitchen diner and a separate reception room and that great outside storage, as I said. And this other lovely one on Phoenix Yard, it's modern, so really low maintenance, which is great for the family buyer who are often very busy with other things. It's got a lovely open plan kitchen, private parking, and feels very secluded, but it's so convenient for those grammars. You could be at them within minutes. That one, I don't know if I said, is on a guide of 650,000. So if any of those are of interest, give us a call if you're thinking of buying. And if you're thinking of selling in St John's, we would love to help, or TN4 generally, not just St John's. We would be delighted to help. I hope you have a lovely week. I'll look forward to seeing you next week. Bye-bye.